Welcome to Dare to Speak, difficult conversations that can change everything. This is a place for you to bring those difficult conversations that you've been mulling over, that you've been thinking about while you've been walking around, doing the washing up or commuting to work. I'm Stanway. I am a philosopher, psychotherapist of 25 years, divorce and breakup coach, and I help people in the moments where there's a difficult conversation they just don't know how to handle. This is a moment, your moment, to pause, reflect, and have a bit of breathing space to think about what matters to you and how to tackle those difficult moments. Using insight, reflection, case studies, and examples, I will guide you through those difficult conversations in a safe and constructive way. So let's begin. Hello and welcome to Dare to Speak, difficult conversations that change everything. This episode is called 5 Things Your Children Hear When You Think They're Not Listening. So when we're going through separation and divorce with children, and the most common thing that people say to me is, I don't want my children to be affected by the separation, or should I do it? I don't want to damage my kids. Well, here's the thing. This is not a guilt episode. It's an awareness one. What I would like listeners to be aware of, and maybe remember if their own children, they were a child of divorce themselves, is it isn't about separation and divorce. It is about tone, silence, tension, how conversations take place. Now, this really, really matters. Being aware that it is not the divorce itself that causes the problems during separation and divorce. It is how the behaviours of the parents impact the children. So somebody who is performing happiness, everything is okay, or father who thinks that it's better to kind of move away, or a father who is being deregulated, and please do go and listen to my other episode on parental deregulation, can mean that the children are going through a situation where they are absorbing atmosphere. This could be silence instead of a conversation. The fact that a parent's name, the other name, is not mentioned, or if it does, there's tension within it. A change in tone when the phone rings, a parent who is looking at their phone and an email comes in, whispered calls at bedtime. So let's look at some of the data here. There have been a whole load of studies about the impact of parental divorce and mental health in offspring, including depression, anxiety, suicidal ideation, distress, substance abuse. But here's the thing, some of the effects of separation and divorce have actually reduced, suggesting that how parents handle a divorce matters. Now, part of this is because the law around divorce has changed, which has become less about accusation, although there are still accusations that happened, and more about managing the admin as calmly as possible. I think this might also be because kids are more aware. I think also because there's more people going through separation and divorce who actually experienced it when they were children, so they know what those impacts are. Dr. Joan Kelly found that 75 to 80% of children of divorced families adjust really well. And the key determining factor seems to be the level of ongoing conflict between the parents, which is really important. If it's the conflict between the parents that are damaging the children, that's something that as parents we can do something about, certainly something I had to do something about. It's not the separation itself. Now, during separation and divorce, recent data shows that the vast majority of children are residing with the mother following separation and divorce, and that fathers They were more involved with parenting before the separation and more likely to be involved afterwards. But also in the UK, there are roughly 130,000. That's going to be an estimated figure of fathers who've no contact with their children, or fathers who start second families, which may then lose contact entirely with the children from the first family. Now, why does that matter? Well, in a family structure where a woman is managing it all by herself, what you're going to see is a much higher level of emotional pressure on the woman. You're going to see the children then having to deal with that. Perhaps also there are income issues. A lot of separation and divorce is about the money, who gets what, how things are going to be divided, and there's arguments about that. Those arguments put financial pressure on whoever is parenting the children at a particular time, and children are picking up on that. So this episode is not about guilt. It's not about blaming and shaming. It is about bringing it to awareness of saying what really isn't being said. It does matter. Children have got much better hearing than adults, typically. That means that when the child is in bed, or when they're upstairs and there's that conversation going on the phone, that angry conversation, perhaps with a friend or with a family member about their dad or their mum, children can pick up on that tone. They can hear it. They know it's going on. So this episode is about acting with awareness and caution, actually, and going, oh, gosh, I hadn't really thought about it this way. I hadn't considered that it isn't the divorce. It isn't even going without. It isn't the fact that you're going to have to move house. It isn't the fact that you might not be able to go on so many holidays. It isn't really sometimes the fact that one or other parent might start dating somebody new or having new children. It's not about that. Human children in particular, are extraordinarily resilient, actually, and adaptable to change. What they can't deal with is the emotional deregulation of their adults, of their parents. And that's because of a simple thing. When a parent is deregulated or emotional or out of control, the child experiences that as a lack of safety. And that is very, very distressing for children, and it actually leads to their adrenal glands getting bigger and more evolved, their amygdala becoming more developed. Because humans have a very, very long childhood, which means that we are created to be able to adapt to the childhood that we have. And the most significantly determining factor on the well-being of a child, just like animals, actually, we would know, anybody here who has bred cats or dogs or had anything to do with farming or animals, if the mother or the parents of offspring are distressed or upset, the offspring are going to be affected by that in all sorts of ways. It actually changes the neurology by building, as I say, the adrenal glands, cortisol levels, and the amygdala, which is the part of our brain that deals with fight or flight and emergencies. Now, this does not mean that I'm suggesting to people to be rock solid and not show any emotion, or even to pretend that everything's fine. Thing about kids, they are absolutely brilliant readers of body language. They pay attention to their grown-ups. Honestly, that's how they learn how to become adults, by picking up all the micro cues around them. If you've got children and you're going through separation and divorce, you will know in your head right now as you listen to this, which of your children is more sensitive to their environment and perhaps which is less sensitive to the environment. The more sensitive environment will likely show these characteristics. They may become parentified, where they start to take over and look after you or look after other siblings. They may become high performers in an attempt to not cause any problems so that you don't get deregulated. They may go the other way and scatter completely and become extremely vulnerable. They may take a backslide and actually go back in their development a little bit. There are loads of ways in which children display distress. But what I want to say in this short episode, and it is just a short episode today, that getting some help and advice and support about how you regulate your feelings, how you manage your emotions, even under pressure, is incredibly important when it comes to children's outcomes. Children have very little choice in what happens to them during their short lives as children. So therefore, having a parent who is calm and regulated makes the most enormous difference. I know as a parent, I have not always been able to achieve that. I know as a child of divorce, where I was raised by my dad, who was extremely volatile, it led to an awful lot of characteristics and coping strategies in my own life that I've had to seek help and advice to do something about. I've had to learn how not to be hyper competent, how to accept making mistakes, how to manage my feelings and emotions when I feel deregulated, how to understand myself and why I do things and why I make mistakes. But mostly, actually, I've had to learn how to be regulated around my kids and actually see that sometimes if I'm deregulated, it's frightening for them. It's distressing. They simply can't cope. And when a child can't cope, it falls back into coping mechanisms of fight, flight, freeze, fawn. Either fighting, getting into trouble, running away, shutting down, that's freeze, or just stimming. That means taking stimulation from other things like phones or other things that like gaming, where they can distract themselves and disassociate from what's going on, or fawn. And that's in some ways just such a difficult one, because a child who is in fawn can look like the good kid that's coping really well because they're not being a bother and they're becoming your little friend and they're behaving so well, but actually that might be masking behavior. That might be them using a coping strategy that then translates to becoming a people pleaser in adulthood. So this is a difficult episode. I am sharing these episodes not to make things difficult or not to kind of prick your conscience or make you feel bad in any way if this is affecting you, but actually to help you by talking about what the real concerns are and the real things that we can do something about. Being emotionally regulated around a child is very, very important when we're driving, when we're talking, when we are managing things. What I suppose I would say is if your child was being looked after by somebody else, and they were in a highly distressed state, would you leave your child with them? Or what would you do? Calming down, simple techniques for calming down are very often giving yourself some separation, learning how to say no to things, not taking on other people's problems when you're not really managing your own, going outside and walking. Self-care is what keeps us safe and well around children. Children are picking up on tone, they're picking up on silence, they're picking up on us looking like everything is okay. This episode is about just encouraging you to think about this really and understanding it's not the divorce that's the problem. And if you are being very difficult with your ex and you happen to be listening to this, which maybe you will be, those arguments are affecting your kids. And mediation, finding resolution, finding good solutions really is the best way forward with separation and divorce. So I hope this short episode on things that your children hear when you think they're not listening, the things that they pick up, has been useful for you. I do recognise it will be difficult for some of you, and I'm absolutely, definitely not offering a simple fix to this. I encourage you to go and have a look at the resources on my website, and please do reach out, book a call with me if you feel that I can help you with this. I've got tools that I can teach. But mainly, I just want to let you know that if you are working on your regulation, if you were doing yoga, looking after yourself, going for a run, walking outside, practicing meditation, doing self-care to be as good a parent you can during separation and divorce, I commend you and congratulate you and say well done, because I know how hard it is. I have been there. I have walked these footsteps, and yeah, it is not an easy thing. So thank you for this. Please do like, share, subscribe, follow me, have a look at my website, and really take the absolute best care of yourself.